Hello everyone, and welcome to This Nintendo Life. My name is NBZ, and you are here at the 62nd episode of this here show. I am joined, as always, by my co-host. It's Bally. Hello, Bally. How are you doing today?
Hello, NBZ. I'm very good. I am back in the UK having a little Easter break.
Yes, a wonderful Easter break. Need that every once in a while. Recharge the batteries, of course, and get ready to go. Hopefully, a lot of time to play some video games.
Oh yes. Brought the Wii U with me. All good.
Excellent. Well, Bally, you're not the only person joining me today on the couch, the metaphorical table, I guess. No, you're not. We surprisingly have a guest on the show, and I'll introduce this guest right now. We have the artist formerly known as Fizzy Stardust. Now goes by Yo Fizz, but we're just going to call him Fizz because he's a buddy, our guy. Fizz, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you. I'm doing very well. Very excited. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, for people who don't know you, have not heard your voice before, why don't you give people a little bit of an elevator pitch of who you are, where you come from, where do you go, you Cotton Eye Joe?
I was so hoping you were going to say all of that. Because if you were not, I was going to. Hey, I go by the name Yo Fizz out there on the internet. So I do YouTubes and I stream Twitch. Mm-hmm. I play. I have a D&D podcast that I'm working on uploading, catching up to the videos. It's called Dungeons and Dragons and Chill. We do it every Saturday live on Twitch. I also do a little bit of Pokemon battling on the side. That's where I know NBZ from. And I play other stuff. I play a lot of WWE 2K16. I'm a mixed bag of treats.
A wonderful bag.
Yeah.
Excellent.
A gosh darn good bag of treats.
Good
Any
stuff.
treat you like, I got it.
You gotta reach in there and grab it.
Yeah,
It's
you
all
just
about
gotta reach deep down in me and grab that treat.
Yep. Oh boy. All right. Well, yes. Good stuff to have you here on the show. I know this has been in the works for a while. We wanted to do it.
Too long.
We also, if you didn't know, me and Fizz did a podcast a little while ago.
Twice.
Until we both got real busy. Yeah. So before we did a podcast called 2.5 Gamers with Jake. And now we did like another one with wait, what the hell did we call that? That was the Yo Gamecast, right?
It was the Yo Gamecast, yeah.
Yeah.
So I brand myself in everything I do.
Exactly. You got to do that. Unlike me with my fucking Emperor ZNB YouTube name and Lordnbz on Twitter, NBZ on Facebook. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But,
I can't argue that. You are a mess.
I am a mess. All right, well, let's stop being a mess. Let's get into the show proper and let's talk some video games. So, Bally, why don't you lay out the lay of the land? What are we going to talk about this week?
We're all going to talk about the games we've been playing. We've got a couple of emails to get through, and then we're going to talk about something we've not mentioned on the show before much, really, and that is streaming. The ins and outs, what we think of it. Do we do it? Do we enjoy it? Is it on the rise, on the fall?
And I guess Nintendo's role in streaming and maybe looking forward to NX and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so good stuff to come. First of all, though, we are, of course, going to talk about the video games we've been playing. And Fizz, as our guest, I'll give you the honour of going first. So how about you tell us, what are the video games you've been diving into?
Okay, I'm going to start off with something that you guys probably have never played since you guys are kind of adverse to phone games and stuff like that.
Sure.
I've been playing Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. Pretty much all day, every day. It's a free-to-play app game, and they've scaled the pricing for their in-game currency so much so that I've never once been tempted to buy anything for this game. It is so outrageously overpriced.
Well, that's good because, means that you just sit there and never have to worry about losing yourself to the free-to-play depths.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a fun kind of, you unlock guys and you level them up and then you can
isn't this like card based or something? Like I've seen Steve upload a couple of videos of it and stuff, and it looks like you get cards and something. No,
you get like character cards, sort of, and it's basically you just get like different characters, and then you bring like a team of 6 or 7 into a game, and then there's like bubbles, and then you have to like line up your shots, and if the bubble colors connect, then you get more points towards your hit. It's kind of like a puzzle game. You can't move anything around. You just have to plan it out.
Is this the sort of thing that you're just drawn to it because it's Dragon Ball? Like, it's because like it's the 100% the license, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the game, but like if it weren't Dragon Ball, I'd probably just set it back down.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot of these games. Is like they have a concept, just like the game is fine, but like on its own, it's not really gonna stand water in the App Store where there's like a dime a dozen of these type of things. So
right, I can't imagine playing this game if it were like anything else. If it were like a Pokemon game or any other license, really. Like I think just Dragon Ball got. I yearn for a good Dragon Ball Z game.
I mean,
every day.
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah,
like
I think
hasn't there been any?
No.
Not one? Is it stuck in the Sonic land?
Yeah, pretty much.
I heard people like Xenoverse though, right? Like that came out and some people liked it.
I mean, do you want me to get into Xenoverse?
Not really, but
I'll tell you how they took fun and ruined it.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, one day I'm sure there'll be something that rises above the rest. But
for Smash.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh god, it wasn't. Like Shonen Jump is something. There was a Shonen Jump game I think that was like a Smash Brothers clone back in the day. I don't remember, but yeah.
There's like 700 fighting games that have the DBZ license out there, and I'm sure one of them's like a good fighting game if you're into that.
Yeah, probably. All right.
Other than that, though, I picked up Pokken Tournament, which came out a couple days ago.
Yeah, the new hotness, the new Nintendo game that neither Bally or I have picked up yet because a little bit skeptical. I intended to play the demo earlier today, but Bally, you did, so.
Yeah, let's dish. So I picked it up. I pre-ordered it because I was confident that I was going to like it, and it would be the fighting game for me. Finally, I've wanted to play fighting games, and it would be the one for me. Then the day of release came, and I just stood outside of GameStop, like looking at the sign, and just being like, I don't know if I want to do this to myself. I had
what have I done?
Many. Yeah, I was like, oh no. I mean, like I have time to back out. I can put my reservation towards something else. Like I'm surely there's another good game coming out that I could just put that money towards. And I'm just like, I don't know. And then I was like, what's the worst that could happen? And I just decided to go for it. So I picked it up. Ultimately, I decided, there's a Pikachu that's a luchador.
Right.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. So
what is up with that?
At least I get that out of it. Have you not seen the luchador Pikachu before?
No, what's it from?
I think it's an X and Y.
Oh right, okay.
Oh right, no, because he has all the costumes.
The
you can dress him
Pikachu
up
cosplay, yeah. One of them's the wrestler.
I see.
Yeah.
So I've played nearly
Pikachu
all.
DLC.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's a bunch of DLC for that game because there's only like 10 characters.
They've actually said that they're not going to do any. I don't know whether to believe them or not. Yeah,
that seems insane to me. There's only 10 characters.
It seems crazy in a game where you potentially have 700 plus potential DLC characters. Like, why would they not capitalize?
Is that because they'd have to like retroactively fix all the arcade machines or something?
Maybe. I don't know how difficult it is to do that with arcades. I don't know how it works, and like with Street Fighter and stuff, when they add characters, if they do that or not, I don't know.
Does Pokken Tournament have arcade machines?
I mean, that's how it started. So the game was originally announced, and this is how a lot of like fighting games start in Japan, is they get released in arcades originally, and then like after a few months or however long on the arcades, then they get brought to console, and that's when they get put out. And so this is what happened with Pokken in Japan, and and finally it's come out here. But
well, maybe they'll take the Street Fighter route and just release a Pokken Tournament Hyper Fighter Super.
Yeah, they could do. They could just do like every year. Here's the new version of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the tact instead of going for the DLC characters. But
I sure hope not. I'd gladly pay for DLC for this game.
Yeah.
As it stands now, I've played a few matches, both online and offline, through their little like league tournament mode or whatever. And it's been fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's simplistic enough where it's not off-putting for a new player to pick it up and start playing. But it seems like there's definitely the complexities are there if you want to make it more than just like, this is a Pokemon fighting game. Wow, I'm having so much fun. Look at the Pikachu. Wow, he's shooting thunder. That's so crazy. This is the game I've wanted since I was a child. Wow.
So you'd say it's like probably more accessible than a Street Fighter, but maybe less so than, less accessible than Street Fighter, but more accessible than Smash Brothers, or I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
One of those, the opposite. I don't know.
They're both. I don't know.
I think it's more accessible than a Street Fighter would be for someone who's never played a Street Fighter before.
I thought that. I've never played it before, and I thought the demo was like really easy to just pick up and start.
Right, because there's like 2 light attacks and then a strong attack, and there's a grab and a counter, and it's just pressing 2 buttons at the same time. And then there's a block button. Like, that's so simple.
Yeah, no, that seems very, very easy to get the hang of.
And all the attacks are kind of like how Smash Brothers works, where it's a direction and the button, and there's no quarter circle punch or half circle punch, back right punch. There's none of that stuff.
Right. No like extended move list where you have to scroll down and learn everything.
Yeah, and you go into like I forget what it's called, but like a super mode, and then your attacks do more damage, and then there's like a ultra attack, which is really simple to do. Actually, to go in like your super mode is L and R at the same time. To do your super, L and R at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems cool.
Yeah, it's really easy if you wanted to get into a fighting game. I think it might be the one with the lowest barrier of entry.
Do you know how it works? Like, I see this whole thing of transitioning between the phases, right? So you've got, like, the field phase and the duel phase, right?
Yes.
Is there a way that you can trigger changing from one to the other, or does that seemingly... Because from what I've seen, it seemingly happens at random, and I don't know what causes it.
I think it's just the vicinity, isn't it?
Not necessarily, because I've gotten up close and moved back away, and I've stayed in the field phase. I think it might be... It feels at random. It doesn't feel like there's a way to trigger it or a way to go out of duel phase. It feels like it might be triggered by like a couple of attacks when you're in field mode, which is like kind of like a free roaming mode. You can move in all directions.
I found that there was like one attack that would, like, when you're Pikachu, for example, you would like sprint in and then like whip your tail at the opponent, and then after doing that, all of a sudden you were in the 2D mode. The
dual phase, which is like a 2D like Street Fighter-y type sort of fighting. And then to like get back out of that, if you do like a strong enough attack where it kind of like bounces them around, it goes back into field mode or something. It's very confusing to kind of get the hang of going in and out of those phases.
Yeah, no, it does seem weird.
And there's like a massive icon in the middle of the screen, like telling you when it goes in between those phases. That seems to stay on the screen for like a full like 3 seconds or something.
It stays there the whole time, I think.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
It feels like it's there the whole time, but at the same time, like, because you're going in and out of it so often, it feels so necessary to have it there. Because otherwise I'm like confused. Because you do different attacks in both phases.
Yeah.
Like your movesets are totally different in between the two.
I can imagine it feels a little strange as well, because I know a lot of people who play 2D fighting games tend to want to use the D-pad, right? And the weird thing here is, like, if you're using the D-pad for those phases, then you're not prepared for when it goes into the field phase and suddenly it's full 3D movement.
I've been using the D-pad for everything.
Really? And you've been okay doing that?
Yeah, it's been all right.
Okay.
I tried the joystick at first because that seemed how one would want to do it, but then going into the dual phase mode, to jump is a button and it's not up, and then so I was doing a lot of that and I couldn't get the movement down right when I was switching from field to dual phase. So then I was like, well, let me try the D-pad, and since I've done that, everything's been a lot smoother. I think it's probably the way it should be played.
Okay. Well, it sounds like really interesting. It's hard for me, I think, to rationalize going out to get it now, because I don't know how much fun I'd get of like just randomly playing people online, and unless like, you know, Bally or someone like has it and I can consistently play against other people that I know, then I don't know, it loses something for me there. Like I don't know, how good is the single player content? Is it like you know, do they do anything interesting campaign wise?
From what I can tell so far, I've only done there's like I think it's called league mode, and you go through and you play through a league, and then once you rank up to you build your rank after each win, and once you get in between 8 and 1, I think it enters you in. You can do tournament mode, and then you go through like a tournament phase of those the people in that league, and then once that happens, after the first one, it triggered like a story type thing where Shadow Mewtwo came. Spoiler alert, sorry. And basically ruins your entire day and just wrecks you. And then you kind of have to go like, oh, who's that black Pokemon? And who's that trainer associated with it? So there's like a little bit of a story going on, but it doesn't feel like a lot. It's not really enough to be any kind of interesting. In the League mode, it starts out so easy. It doesn't feel like a challenge at all at this point, but I assume once you get further along, it might boost up the difficulty quite a bit. But right now, it's just kind of mind-numbing, and online seems to be where it's at.
Has the online been holding up then? You think the servers are good? Have you had any lag or any problems connecting with people?
I played about, I'd probably say 25 or so matches. The games go pretty quick. I've only experienced one game where I was like, what the fuck? This is awful. Like, how is he doing the things he's doing? And why is my guy not reacting correctly to what's going on? There's only one time where that really happened. But other than that, like, the servers have been fine. Everything seemed to be up and running normally. The hitboxes were working, all that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bali, how did you find it with your kind of demo impressions?
Well, I'm a complete fighting game noob, pretty much, like entirely, apart from Smash Brothers and then Soul Calibur 2 back in the day.
Right.
And I thought it was a really nice looking game. Like, it does look quite crisp, I thought. It was super easy to pick up, but I think I'm maybe the wrong person to judge this game because I'm just not really into fighting games. I just couldn't, like, obviously I was just playing a light demo, but I couldn't really get into it. It didn't feel very addictive at all. And like I did think like the animations of some of the Pokemon like Gengar and all that are like super crazy, and like some of the stuff they get them to do works really well. But this game just, I don't know, it doesn't appeal to me to want to buy it, certainly.
How many Pokemon do they let you play as in the demo?
Like 4 or 5. I think you get Lucario.
That's like half the roster.
Yeah. You get like Pikachu, Lucario, Charizard, and Gengar, I think.
Did you try all of them?
Yeah, I tried all of them.
Anyone that stuck out to you?
Pikachu like seems really overpowered. Like, he's just like super. Like you expect him to be like a bit weaker and faster because he's smaller, but he just seems to have like just as bigger punches as some of the bigger guys. So I don't know. The balancing seems a bit strange. I don't know. Who do you normally play with, Fizz?
I've played nearly all my matches as I call him Luchachu, but it's called Pikachu Libre on there. But yeah, because I'm such a huge wrestling fan, so I was like, I'm just gonna main Luchachu this whole time. But
watching the Giant Bomb quick looks like he has quite a few wrestling moves in his arsenal.
He does like a German suplex, a Stone Cold Stunner. His Ultra, basically a ring appears in the middle. With the guy, with your opponent laid out, and then he jumps onto the ring post, says Pikachu, and then does like a triple moonsault. It's which is like a triple like backwards flip.
Okay.
Yeah, it's incredible. It feels so good. And like Bally said, like the animations are great.
Runs at 60 frames per second. I imagine.
Yeah. I've tried some of the other characters, and like Charizard is like and they all have like little things that say like, this is a speed guy, this is like a middle of the road guy, and this is like a power guy. And like,
so have like kind of weight classes kind of.
And Charizard's a power guy. Like his throws do like almost half damage to people, like half their health bar. Like it's pretty insane, but he's so slow that you can just like hit him and not get grabbed. And there's like a rock paper scissors kind of function, like between a normal attack beats a grab, but a counter attack beats the normal attack, and a grab beats a counter.
Right, okay.
So it's like, it's simplistic in nature, like all the mechanics are there, but like there's obviously there's gonna be, I could see this like at Evo and stuff like that.
Do you think it looks weird when you block and they like get out this
little shield,
this little shield like attached to their arm or something? I thought that was so weird.
I mean, it didn't catch me as weird. I was just willing to accept it. Like I was like, all right, this. You needed to visualize that somehow, and I think it would be difficult on like a lot of Pokemon, like how does
Especially-
Chandelure block a punch? Like
Right, and
Why is
also this is a game in which you can play as a fucking chandelier in a
Yeah.
like, let's suspend reality here. I think.
Can you
why-
believe that Pokemon's in the roster?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I could not believe it, but it turns out Chandelure is actually like really good, as far as I can tell. It might be one of like
Wow.
the top tier Pokemon. Its range attacks and
Just
field
come
mode
swinging.
are incredible.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's play devil's advocate here and say
Yeah.
they do release DLC. What Pokemon is the one that you would be gunning for to
man.
play as?
Golly,
Dragonite.
there you
Yeah,
go.
of course you'd say that.
Dragonite would be cool. No, I'd like to see Snorlax in there.
Oh man, yeah, that's a great call.
Like Snorlax, I think the other no-brainers would be like the Hitmonbros.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would love to see Mew.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds really cool. I'll see. I think this is kind of the number one price drop game.
I think if you have no interest in fighting games, like you should probably stay away from it. Like it being, like we were talking about before, like the IPs attached to games. I don't think
Yeah.
it being a Pokemon IP is going to bring in people. Like
Yeah.
people might give it a shot
Yeah.
because it's Pokemon, but I don't think they're gonna like it if they're not open to fighting games.
Sure.
I think I could buy it on a discount and give. you
Right,
guys
yeah, that's what I was
online
going to say, is
matches,
like, it seems
probably.
like a sale game to me.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll sell like hotcakes still with the Pokemon IP and all that. So
Yeah,
Oh,
you know,
I'm
and,
sure. To see how
and with
it
the
does.
marketing stuff they have for the 20th anniversary, I'm sure they will be known to people, or made known to people that it exists. So
And from what I've been seeing online too, is a lot of people, like well-known people from the fighting game communities, have been taking a liking to this game too.
yeah, and it, whether Nintendo paid for this or not, it's going to be at Evo this year, so that's
Yeah.
another kind of
Exactly.
place for it to shine. So
Like I heard Justin Wong likes this game, so that's a
yeah,
ringing
I
endorsement.
heard that he'd won the invitational thing they did.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear.
Not a
good
surprise.
stuff. All right, is there anything else you've been playing then, Fizz?
I dabbled in Wind Waker, and
Yes.
I hesitate to bring it up because I've only dabbled a little bit, but I know Bally is such a big fan of it.
Indeed.
I do plan on playing more, but I've only played about an hour or two. I quite like it a lot.
You had a fun encounter with the bogey kid.
What is that? oh, right, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
He is disgusting.
He is disgusting, yeah. Every time I look at him, I
was
can't
just like,
handle it.
I'd like to murder this child. He's like your brother, right?
No, I don't think he's related to you in any way.
Whatever. I'd like to murder him.
Your brother.
Like, as soon as I got the sword, I was like, let me get that for you, and just, like, take a swipe at his nose or something.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to realize that thing was like a
Immediately.
cell-shaded bogey?
Immediately. I was like, what the fuck? This is disgusting. Why is this in this game?
Yeah. This really happy,
Yeah.
nice-looking game, yeah.
Yeah,
Have to just bring it down, don't they?
They really
And that
do.
Bally is why it's not the number 2 game of all time. That's why it's number 3.
Well, we'll have to
Wait,
wait
what
and
was
see
number
about
2
that.
again?
Galaxy.
Galaxy
Or Galaxy
2.
2. Yeah,
Yeah,
Galaxy
okay.
2, yeah. So.
Okay, yeah.
Mario doesn't have fucking bogeys hang out his nose. Come on.
That's true, he doesn't. He's got a very clean nose.
Yep.
I've
very
never
good.
once seen him have, like, food stuck in his mustache or anything.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well kept dude is that
Yeah.
Mario.
He's like the Fonz of the Cooper world.
Yeah, he is. He
Pulls out a comb to comb his stash, and then he's like, "Mamma mia!" Or I don't know. Yep.
Speaking of Mario, you did dabble a little in Mario Maker as well, and played like a level or two of mine. So
Yeah,
how'd
yeah.
you find that?
I like Mario Maker. I bought it and I played mostly the like 100 Mario Challenge, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I just wanted to explore like the craziness that has been happening, and just play a few of those levels. I've come to realize that I don't think I'm a big fan of like the insanely hard levels.
yeah,
I appreciate the ones that like put a lot of thought into the design of the level, rather than making it like, oh, here's the fucked up thing you have to beat.
yeah.
Like, here's 5 Bowsers stacked on each other.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching some of that stuff, but
Yes.
playing it myself is not where I want to go. Like, I think the website is actually a really good tool because it serves you kind of these recommended levels, and a lot of them have all of them have the percentage completion rate there, and it allows you to find like really well designed, thoughtful, but not like excruciatingly hard levels. And I think that's where that kind of stuff shines, and it's really great and fun to explore. So
yeah, I mean, I really liked your Metroid level for what it's worth.
Well, thank you.
I think it seemed pretty well thought out, and there was like moments where, just satisfying moments where like, oh yeah, like this cool thing happened, and now it feels good, and now it's on to the next part. I like levels like that.
It took me like 12, 13 hours to make, so I should hope so. Like, it really makes you think about design in this crazy way, and like every loophole you can think of, and like, what if the player does this here instead of this, which I intend them to do, you know, like we talked about it a lot last year, but it's great at giving you that insight into like how games are made.
Yeah. Like I've only made a handful of levels. I think I've only uploaded 2. One of which was just like to get more stuff unlocked. But the one I put like some thought into is like flying vine guys and stuff I've never seen before. It's really neat to like just think about like, and then watch it react to like the things you're doing.
Exactly.
Are you a big 2D Mario fan?
No, not really. But I think if I were given an option to play a 2D Mario and a 3D Mario, I think I'd gravitate towards a 2D one. But I've probably not played enough 3D Marios in my time to really give a fair opinion. But I grew up playing Mario, so like I have a soft spot for like Mario 3. Like I think Mario 3 is awesome. Super Mario World to me is one of the best games ever made.
Alright. Hey, at least I've played it. MBZ hasn't even given it a shot. He's just.
Look, it'll happen. Don't worry.
I think you'll like it, MBZ.
Yeah. No, for me, actually, like, playing Mario Maker has really made me interested in playing Super Mario World, because I really do believe, like, the mechanics in that game, in that tile set, are by far the most interesting. Like, the ability to throw items up in the air, and the ability to do the spin jump, like, all that stuff seems, like, much more nuanced and complex and interesting, and so I think I probably would enjoy Mario World if I gave it a shot.
Yeah, like, Super Mario World is, like, the Mega Man X to Mega Man.
Right, yeah. No, that does make sense. Yeah, good stuff. Well, then, let's move on to Bally and see what Bally has been diving into recently.
I have been so busy recently, like with just stuff to do and things to see, and I've not gamed a whole lot, but I did finish a game that I've not talked about yet on the show, and that game is Kirby Crystal Shards on the N64.
Yeah, the N64 game on Virtual Console. I should mention, this is a game that I bought for you back during the Wii days when you could gift...
Around 2008.
Yeah, when you could gift people games. So it's been on the backlog a little while, hasn't it, Bally?
This game is like the definition of backlog. Like I've been meaning to play this for like 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the unique selling point of this game is that you can double up your abilities. So Kirby games, you always get abilities. Yada da. In this game, you double up your abilities, and some of the best moments in this game come from those doubled up abilities, in my opinion. Now, this game came out in 2000.
Okay.
So what do you think? Like, think back to 2000 and specifically 1999. Like, what was really big in that year?
3D.
3D. Well, yeah.
Of course,
unnecessary 3D.
the seminal film Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace was important.
Exactly, and I feel like as a result of that, one of the items you get in this game, or the power-ups, is a double-bladed lightsaber.
All right, so I'm playing this game.
Exactly. So you can be Kirby with a double-bladed lightsaber, just slashing your way right through the level. Okay. And I definitely argue that a lot of the double power-ups, especially the lightsaber, feel really overpowered. And if you just watch yourself and make sure you don't lose your power-up, you can get through most of the game pretty easily. I don't think this is an overly challenging game. There are definitely some bits and some bosses, some really well-designed bosses, I must say, that were really, really tough. But overall, I didn't have too many problems. And to be honest, I think this game just makes me want to say like the C word. And by that I mean charming. Like this game.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where you're going there.
Yeah, I was like,
game, it's a really nice looking game, and it does that thing that so many 2D platformers do that I do like quite a lot, which is, you know, you are walking along a 2D plane in a 3D space, and this is, I assume, one of the first games ever to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Kirby hasn't really been in 3D before. I guess, like, the one exception would be Air Ride, but then that's, like, a full racing game as opposed to a traditional Kirby game, so...
Yeah, and it looks really nice for a N64 game. I want to say it was, like, because it came out in 2000, it was near the end of the life cycle, and I think it probably needed the expansion pack or something.
Right,
so
yeah.
It probably looks nicer than the majority.
I recall it looking quite nice, but I think mainly because like there aren't really many textures on things, so it kind of has a cleaner look than a lot of N64 games have.
Yeah, it looks pretty great. I mean, it wasn't a particularly addictive game. Like I wasn't sat there thinking like, gotta get to the next level, gotta do this, gotta do that. It was kind of like, yeah, I played the level, that was fun, that was good, and it almost left me feeling a bit like Woolly World from last year, where it was like, this is nice, it looks nice, this is fun, it's charming.
Isn't that like every Kirby game though? Don't
Yeah,
have that feel?
I don't know. Well, I mean, my favorite game, and this is, NBZ agrees, is Kirby game is Canvas Curse.
Yeah.
And I found that game really addictive, where I'd play loads of levels one after the other, as well as like the whole challenge mode in that game, which I got really into. That's still my favorite Kirby game. I think that'll take some beating. I've not played a whole bunch. I mean, the only other one I've played actually is Amazing Mirror, which is, you know, Kirby Metroidvania, which was... Those two things just don't go very well together. Like,
sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and if you've not played it, I definitely recommend giving it a go. Like, but trying to complete that game, I don't think it's really worth it. It's more
drove you to insanity.
Yeah,
kind of.
It was bad. Like, it was just like, that's a weird game. Strange. The way that doors connect in that game is just crazy and mucked up, and I didn't like it. But yeah, so I would say, like, if you want to try a traditional Kirby game from back in the day, you're a big Kirby fan, I couldn't recommend Crystal Shards more. But if you're looking for like a really entertaining, unusual 2D platformer, I don't think this game does a whole lot. But I think in terms of a game to go back to that like showcases the N64, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's weird as well because there weren't many 2D games coming out in that era, because the N64 and PS1 had heralded 3D visuals and everything. Like, it seemed that, you know, a lot of stuff was going to be left behind. But it's cool that, like, I think Kirby is this one bastion for Nintendo of always being a 2D series. And I think maybe that's why they're kind of reticent to ever do a 3D game with him, is like, everyone knows Kirby, should I say, in a 2D setting. So it may feel a bit weird not to do that.
I wonder if they've ever tried it. And they're just
I'm sure they've, like, prototype stuff before, but yeah, I guess nothing really worked. Maybe one day.
I'd be up for a 3D Kirby. He needs some something fresh.
Yeah, definitely. He seems like an IP that they like to experiment with, so I'm sure that'll happen. But for the moment, we're just getting more 2D ones, like Planet Robobot that just got announced, where you're in a mech. So
I mean, out of all the other Kirby games out there in existence, I think I'd probably want to try that one the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's the newest one that's coming out. Right. It looks like a badass.
I mean, if I'm that willing to try a Kirby game just because there's a double-bladed lightsaber, I mean, imagine how much I want to play a Kirby game where he's in a mech suit.
Right, and again, like, Mega Man X throwback coming in there.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he had I didn't even know about the mech suit. It blew my mind.
Right.
Like, what? I get to be in one of these too? Oh my god.
It's so
He doesn't
good.
just eat the mech suit, he goes in the mech suit.
Yeah. Oh man.
And like, I still need to try Rainbow Curse. Did I get that name right? Rainbow
Curse? No, the first
Nailed
time
it.
in history
Nailed
you
it.
got the name right.
Mark
Well
this
done.
moment. I got it right. I still need to try that. I'd like to probably try that out this year.
Was that was the new one, right?
Yeah, that's the sort of Canvas Curse style Wii U game from last year.
Yeah, I wanna try that one on the cheap.
Yeah, I got it on the cheap, and
I'm going to try it on the cheap and borrow it from everything.
Exactly,
There you go.
the cheapest.
That's the
cheaps.
cheapest way. Friendship.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I just have to expend a lot of money in my friendship with MBZ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, is that's all right, Bal? You're going to be diving into Xenoblade, I think, in your break now.
I am. I've got some time. I've got my Wii U. I'm going to try and not watch too much Netflix, which I also just got, and try and play some Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that in the future.
I'll need some help. I'll need some help, MZ.
Don't worry, I've played goddamn like 90 hours of that game, so
I'm on about 15.
Yeah, I still have like unfinished things to do, so probably when you start playing it, I'm just going to jump back in and finish off some quests. So I'll look forward to that. But in the meantime, let's talk about the other things I've been playing. I finished quite a lot of things recently. I finished Advance Wars, which we talked about a couple of shows ago, because last time we had the Backlog Club and we did all that, so I didn't get kind of give my closing thoughts on it. The end of Advance Wars is the biggest dick move I've seen in a game in a long time. Man, God, like that game is... It made me think in ways like that I hadn't thought, before, because the way that it's set up, and I was talking to you a little bit about this, is like that whole idea in Fire Emblem of like blockading enemy units so they can't get past you kind of gets thrown out the window here, because like in Fire Emblem you can put an enemy unit there and a Pegasus Knight, even though the fact of the Pegasus Knight it can fly, can't get past you. It can't fly over you if you're blocking the way. Whereas in Advance Wars, you have these jet planes and bombers that can just fucking go wherever they like. So like, and their range is enormous, and it feels like it's harder to create that kind of barrier of safety to like have time to think. Like Advance Wars so much more feels like a game where you have to be aggressive and just fucking go for it. And, you find yourself in situations like on the final map where, like, you have hardly any units and the enemy is overwhelmingly huge and they can continuously spawn stuff from their bases, and the boss has a power that is hot bullshit and will attack your most powerful kind of group of units at once. It was so challenging that I took to Twitter and I was like, Bally, fuck this thing. I might just never beat this game. But I struggled through. And after like 2 hours, I managed to do it. But god, that's one of the hardest things I've done in a long time in a game. And it felt good, but it also felt like fucking thank God I'm done with this. Like it's kind of a sigh of relief that I don't have to do this again.
So you're not keen on trying Advance Wars 2 anytime soon?
So I would be really fascinated if they were to do a new Advance Wars now, because I think that's something that I could jump into, but. At the moment, like, I do think I need to take a break and reassess and think, like, I don't know.
Rethink my life.
Yeah, it took some stuff out of me, some mental energy, and I don't know if I'll have the time to put that back in anytime soon. But I'm open to the possibility. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but yeah. It's an interesting series.
Well, I'm going to play Advance Wars 2 quite soon anyway, so...
Yeah, so...
I'm sure people who are wanting to hear about that can hear it then.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's done. I also played through the whole of Danganronpa 2 and finished that. I don't think I can really say much, because it's so hard to talk about those games, because they're just story-based, and like saying anything is just a spoiler. So I'll say I didn't enjoy it as much as the first Danganronpa. The ending is Metal Gear Solid 2, and it is way longer than it should be, but it's still a fun time. So yeah, Danganronpa 2, thumbs up, I still guess. But yeah, it's a visual novel, kids killing each other. It's a whole thing. Fizz, have you heard of Danganronpa series before?
No, but it sounds uplifting.
It's wonderful. All these kids get sent to an island, and they're told by a murderous teddy bear that if they want to live, if they want to leave the island, they have to murder someone and get away with it. And then every time someone gets murdered, they get put into a Phoenix Wright style court case where you have to find out who the murderer was, and then they get execued if you find out.
That's so dark.
It's dark as hell.
So wait, is it your job to put these kids to death?
No. You're playing as one of the kids in this situation.
Okay.
It's the evil teddy bear who is like sentenced them to death, basically.
Okay. So it's your job to kill somebody and get away with it.
No, not really.
I'm very confused.
You're kind of the innocent bystander, and you're trying to figure out, and you're trying to make sure no one kills anyone, but inevitably people kill someone because it's a video game, and you need to have court cases. So, but yeah, it gets crazy. It's a good time. It's just it's cool because it's opened me up to visual novels, and that's something that I hadn't really played before, and it's meant that like I'm definitely thinking about like some other ones. Like Vita is a big place where a lot of these games are.
Have you played? Look into Ethan Carter, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah, no, I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, I played
PC.
that, and it was quite good. It was my first kind of trip into a visual novel type game, and I quite enjoyed it. It's kind of eerie.
Yeah,
it's got an eerie vibe on it, but it's a very beautiful game.
Yeah, no, that when people were talking about it, they were like, "Oh my god, how does this look like as good as it does?" It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, maybe I'll get to that at some point. Major thing though that has literally fucking destroyed my life and taken up everything is Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is, if I was to give you a short answer, is the perfect Harvest Moon game. It's a Harvest Moon game that comes along in an era where Natsume and like all. Who else? I can't remember who it was that they sold the license to, or the license is all fucked up. But whoever's making Harvest Moon games these days, like, because the story of seasons and stuff, it's all fucked up. And no one has, like, a good, solid, like, bread and butter, classic Harvest Moon game.
There's not been a good one in a long time.
Exactly. And Stardew Valley comes along and is like, motherfuckers, here I am for $15 on Steam, and I am brilliant. And I have spent 37 hours in the last like week and a half on this game, which is unheard of, and it's because the loop of Stardew Valley is there are so many little things that you need to do, right? Obviously, it's a farming style game, so you have to, manage your crops and water them in the morning. You have to sell off the ones that you want. Maybe keep some, because then you'll maybe want to use them later on, in a thing to make it into a jelly or a jam, or make it into like, put it into a keg to make it into like grapes into wine or whatever. And then you have to think, okay, maybe I'll keep some for this girl in town because I want to give her stuff and get hearts up so I can get married to her in the end and then have a child. And then also there's chickens and cows and things to get milk and stuff. But do I want to sell that milk, or maybe I want to turn it into cheese and then sell that instead? And you see what I mean? Like, it's just, there's a checklist. Like, this game is checklist the game, but it's also so wonderfully crafted that at the end of every day there's always something like, okay, I need to tomorrow do that, but then you're like, well, if I stop playing now, I might forget the next time I come back to the game to do that, because I'm just going to wake up on the next day. And the way it works is that it saves the game at the end of every day. So you could potentially get to the end of the day and just be like, okay, I'm going to close it down now. But it's so quick to like wake you up in the morning. You just get out of bed, go outside, and like all of a sudden the dopamine hits because you see the crops outside and you're like, okay, I need to pick these crops now. And then that's it. You're fucked for the next 20 minutes because each day takes 20 minutes. And so like this was very dangerous because I started playing when I first got it at like, I don't know, 6 p.m. And I had it in full screen, so I couldn't see the time. I wasn't checking my phone, and like I get to maybe, I don't know, 15, 16 days into the first month, and I look, and I get my phone, and I look at it, and it's like, oh, it's 2:30 right now.
That's so scary.
And I was like, oh, okay, how did that happen? It's just absolutely fucking captured me, and in some ways, like, I don't know whether that's because it's a good game or whether it's just so well designed to make you play forever and ever.
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
What I love is that, like, just before you started playing this, we were talking about Harvest Moon, MBZ, and like we both played 3D Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life on GameCube. But before that, I'd also played Friends of Mineral Town, which, in my opinion, this game is incredibly similar to.
Right, I mean, it's a 2D game. So.
It's a 2D game, and it's considered by many Harvest Moon fans that I've seen online as, like, the best Harvest Moon. And it's 2D. I'm pretty sure the days in that take 20 minutes as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, MBZ, honestly, you've got to try Friends of Mineral Town. Like, I don't know how you, like, I guess some emulator or something. But I was like, you need to try like a 2D Harvest Moon. And then I swear about 3 days later, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm playing Stardew Valley, and like I've already sunk in like 20 hours. And I was like, what? And then you like said, you're like, Bally, you got to watch the quick look. And from watching the quick look, and I've got to say, Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb hadn't played any Harvest Moon game before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you'd played A Wonderful Life, but I would argue that this game is very, very different to A Wonderful Life and far faster paced. And I don't know, it was just such good timing, because for someone who's not played like a game like Friends of Mineral Town, like that cycle, and you're right, those dopamine hits of just farming is just so satisfying, and like it's some of the best video game you can play, because like me and loads of friends when we were about 12, 13 years old at school used to play Friends of Mineral Town, and we would just go absolutely wild on that game.
Yeah, it's just a formula that seems to work incredibly well. And this guy is clearly like a huge fan of the genre and of the classic Harvest Moon games, and he knows all the stuff that makes that tick, and there's no bullshit in it. Like, it feels like the most drilled down elements of those games, but then there's a lot of depth to it as well, because you have the ability to take your produce and like turn it into different stuff, and then like kind of have a cycle with it, and it means that you're always looking for something to upgrade. Like, okay, because this game also has combat, so like it adds elements from the Rune Factory series in as well, because I know that like there are some Harvest Moon games I think that have like maybe some other elements.
Rune Factory, it's like the PSP game.
I just said Rune Factory, but I don't know if the actual Harvest Moon games have combat in them at all.
That is a Harvest Moon game.
Is it part of the same series? Because I thought Rune Factory was just a different thing completely.
No, it's like a Harvest Moon spin-off. It is still Harvest Moon, but yeah,
Okay.
it's PSP. And it's got like RPG stuff.
Yeah, well, it takes those elements, and you have the whole mine that you can go down, and you can get all these different ores and smelt them into gold and iron, and then like some of that is used to make sprinklers, which means that if you have a sprinkler, then you don't have to spend so much time in the morning with the watering can. And then that's another element. He's added in the energy meter, which basically means that you have like this limited bar that you have to work with for the whole of the day. So it means that like if you're doing a lot of crop work in the morning and you're watering and you're like digging stuff up and everything, it means that for the rest of the day you probably shouldn't go and do something like go down in the mines, because that's going to take up a lot of your energy. So it helps you to focus in on what you want to do for that specific day, which is great, because otherwise your mind is in 7 different places at once and you don't really know where to go. So it actually, I'm not a huge fan of like energy systems in lots of games, but I think it's actually really well and smartly implemented here.
Yeah, Harvest Moon does have like a level of energy, but it's just not portrayed in a meter.
Okay, I like the fact that he actually makes it visible to you, so that you never get caught off guard by that stuff.
Because in Harvest Moon, your character just starts like bending over and like, oh, I'm exhausted, and just
heaving
giving up. Yeah, exactly. Have you ever played the Harvest Moon game, Fizz?
No. I think I played a little bit of one of them, and I couldn't even tell you which one it was. But not really my type of thing. Though Animal Crossing does get me sometimes.
This has a lot of those elements.
I've actually been looking at this game quite a bit, because it's been blowing up, and people who don't normally play that type of game have been playing this game a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
I was trying to get my girlfriend to buy it, because I know like she loves Animal Crossing and Harvest Moon and that stuff, and so I was like, this game is your game. It was made for you. But she was like really turned off by like the visuals. Like, she didn't like how it looked.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that it's kind of like trying to emulate 16-bit RPGs in a way,
which is something that I love, and it brings me back to that kind of era and that feeling of nostalgia.
I mean, my character that I made literally is like Chrono with blue hair and brown skin instead, but like it literally has that same hairstyle, the Toriyama art style, so which is super cool, and I appreciate he put that in there. But yeah, overall it's grabbed me, and this guy's gonna be very successful. I think.
Like Animal Crossing, it's one of those genres that you can't keep doing it. You kind of do it once and do it hard, but then you gotta have a break.
Yes.
Like we were so much like this with Animal Crossing, where we absolutely sunk our life and soul into Wild World on the DS, and then since we've never gotten fully invested in an Animal Crossing or enjoyed it to the same extent. And I think Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, like, you have to play the game, play it hard while it's there, but then you got to give it a really long break and, you know, just step back, because you can't just keep. I personally can't keep playing games like that.
Yeah. Does Stardew Valley like keep going if you're not playing like Animal Crossing would?
No, and that's the danger
good.
of it.
I think that's good. I think that's great, because like the thing about Animal Crossing is like you get it gets its claws into you and sucks your soul out. But then like once you get a day break where like you just physically like couldn't check in on your town and like talk to people, then it's like, all right, yeah, you got a little time to breathe, and you're like, all right, yeah. But then like a week later, you're like, oh no, my town, I forgot about everybody. What if my favorite person moved out? Oh my god, there's gonna be weeds everywhere. Stuff is dying left and right. I didn't sell these turnips. The turnips went bad. Oh my god. And then so you just never play again. And then you make a new town later.
Right, exactly. That's the problem. Like, you can't take breaks from Animal Crossing, because if you do, like, it all goes to shit. Like, it's really bad. And
you get back and like Isabel's like her shirts are like torn, and she's not taking a shower. She's like, I've been doing my best, Mare. It's hell out there. Fucking Reese has just his divorced. Oh
man,
Apocalypse.
I do think I was saying it's like the danger of Stardew Valley is the fact that it doesn't do that, because it leads to antics like me staying up till 2:30 in the morning. Because in Animal Crossing you can't really do that, like, because it's on a day-to-day real life basis. There's like a limited things you can do, like in a single day of Animal Crossing. Right, things stop. Whereas with this, like, it's in control of how long you can go for and play for a whole month in one sitting. It'll probably be a whole like 10 hours of one day.
But counter argument, you could go to the island at night. You get so many beetles.
Yes, you can do that. That's true. The beetle farming is real.
A thing they manufactured into the game to make you play all night.
Yeah. Exactly.
Basically. Oh god, I remember doing so much of that in New Leaf. Oh my god, it's crazy. But like, I think for me, the thing that makes or trumps this over Animal Crossing is that there is much more kind of clear objectives. And like, Animal Crossing is all about kind of paying off your house, and then like you can get into the furniture stuff if you like that and you like decorating, but this has a level of like, okay, I want to rebuild the community center. I want to make sure that I marry this person. I want to make sure that my farm looks this certain way. And the level of customization you have of your farm is far greater than any kind of Harvest Moon game is, because you can choose the placement and location of buildings, and you have multiple different like panelings and floorings and like fences and everything. And it really is like super customizable in a way that makes it like you have this idea in your head, I want my farm to look like this, but in order for it to look like this, I probably have to play for another 90 hours. So, the grind kind of keeps you going with that objective in mind. So, I guess that's Stardew Valley. I guess that's the games we've been playing. A lot of stuff there to talk through. But good stuff. We are going to take a break here, though. We'll be back in a little bit with a couple of emails. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's that time again. It is time for some emails. We've got a couple lined up this week, but before I get into those, there's always time to mention the email address. Once again, the email address is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That's ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. Please send us in all your hate mail.
Definitely. That's what we want to call out first of all.
Your questions, your comments, your reactions. We want to hear them. So
I've sent in so much hate mail.
Yeah, we deleted it. But for everyone else out there, we won't delete it. We'll read it. Don't worry. So our first question this week is from Daniel P. Hey, ThisNintendoLife and Fizz. While listening to your last podcast of 2015 and hearing you talk about Xenoblade X, I started wondering what's your opinion on censoring in Xenoblade X and in video games in general. I can't remember that you both talked about it before on the podcast and thought it might be an interesting topic to discuss, since censoring happens every now and again when localizing games for the West. Most of the time it's only with certain outfits, like it was the case with Xenoblade X, Bravely Default, or Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater, but sometimes even characters are changed in some form, for example Vivian in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Thanks for the podcast, guys.
Yeah, so this is a thing that people have kept asking us to talk about, is the whole, it's happened with Fire Emblem and Xenoblade and all that stuff. So this is a thing that I feel gets so overblown and ridiculous and is just
overblown
not
on the internet.
Oh yeah, no for
way.
sure. And I just think it's something that's not really worth getting so worried about. Like, for me, if you're changing an element of the game that affects the gameplay in a way, then maybe that is something to cry foul of. But in these cases, like, this is so clearly a situation of one market having different cultural values than another, and smart people who know that that's the case making smart changes to these games because they know that in the long run, for profit reasons and for business reasons really, that if this game is going to do well in this marketplace, they need to make sure that it adheres to those values. And people get angry about that and think that there's an agenda behind it, and I don't see that at all. And I don't think that, like, a boob slider in Xenoblade X is a thing to put your picket line down and say, well, this is the reason. Like, and I saw a great tweet, I think it was from Curtis Barnes on Twitter, and he was saying, like, imagine these people who are, like, taking these stances on these games and saying to their family members, and the family members like, oh, that Xenoblade game, like, you like that last one, you're going to buy this new one? And they're like, no, I'm not buying this one because they didn't put a boob slider. Like, how fucking ridiculous does that sound, right? Like, how absurd is that? So really, that's how I feel about it.
Fizz, are you wanting a boob slider?
No, I'm not. I'm more likely to not buy a game because it includes a boob slider.
Okay.
Oh,
like,
there you go.
To be fair, like, that seems insane to me. And also some of this stuff, like this Daniel P had referenced, like Bravely Default, they put more clothes on a 15-year-old girl in the game.
Yeah.
And people are mad about that. Like, I am looking at, like, what it was before, and it's like barely anything to, like, now she's showing thigh, which is still probably too much for a 15-year-old girl in a video game. But,
right.
But it seems fine, and it, like, they didn't change anything in the game. They're just, like, not objectifying a child, which seems fine to me. That seems like a fine choice for...
It seems like a smart thing to do, right?
That seems great to me. I love not objectifying women. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
To treat women as people, and it's great. I love it. So, like, the censorship between, like, when games get localized... I have no problem with it. If you have a problem with it, you can import your game and buy a Japanese region console, and then you don't have to complain to anybody. You get
and learn Japanese.
Yeah,
while
learn
you're
Japanese.
At it.
If you're so enthralled with the culture that you don't want any changes, you should learn Japanese. You should play the Japanese games on your Japanese console.
Yeah, as Jeff Gersman tweeted, like, back in my day, when people had issues with the translation, they just fucking learned Japanese and played the original.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're not even talking translations here. We're talking about
exactly.
clothing and boob sliders. Like,
right.
Why is this a real conversation we have to have?
Yeah, I don't know. And I really take issue with the idea of censorship being used in this context.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's not censorship.
No, it's a company editing their game for a different market. Like, that is nowhere close to the definition of censorship.
It's not like Xenoblade X gets shipped to America and Obama it gets to Obama's desk and Obama goes, "No boob sliders." It's not what happens.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Me and Obama are tight. We text.
I see.
We snap each other a lot.
Okay.
I thought all Americans knew Obama.
Yeah. He's cool.
Bally, do you want to weigh in here?
I'm almost staying silent, like I'm implying I'm completely against what you guys are saying, but I completely agree with what you're saying. And like, I think ultimately, like, these Nintendo or these video game companies, they're companies that want to make the maximum amount of money, and they know that, you know, they will get a lot of media heat if they start in the West, if they start putting in naked 15-year-old girls. They need to censor that. I mean, you're right, censor is probably the wrong word, but they need to change what they're marketing. Like, we all know that the Japanese have a very different, like, you know, relationship with this whole idea of the age of consent and like what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. We just, for right or wrong, have very different views on that, and it would be mad for a company like Nintendo to risk anything too risque in the West. And I mean, that could get in like the Wall Street Journal, that kind of thing, if Nintendo started trying to get away with that, and it'd be incredibly detrimental. So I think they're just playing it safe, trying to make the most amount of money, and making a successful product that will appeal to that region or area of the world. And like, everyone needs to just calm down a bit, you know. Like, you're right, there's been so much heat on the internet about this, and you know, products change between regions in the world across lots of different types of things, not just video games.
Just look at Power Rangers.
What happened with Power Rangers?
I mean, all the fight scenes and the God, what was the evil girl's name? Well, her and all the fight scenes were all from the Japanese Power Rangers show, but obviously everything else was Americanized.
Right.
So yeah, it obviously changed.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. But also, I think you guys framed this really well, and it's also these companies not necessarily doing this stuff for the right reasons, but for business reasons.
Yes.
I'd like it if it were just like, no, we're going to change this because this is the right thing to do, but I'll take a win where I can get one here.
Sure. We can interpret it that way. Absolutely. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much value in
point. I had a point with Power Rangers. It's still good.
Okay. All right.
It was still good.
Right. And these games are still good. Exactly.
I mean, could it ever get to the point where the game, like you said, MBZ, changes so substantially that there's some sort of mechanic that changes, or, you know, something like relates to the gameplay? Absolutely, that's possible, and that might warrant a reason to be annoyed and upset. But I mean, from what we've described with these examples and what there's been so much hype on the internet about, with mainly sort of covering up younger girls, then like it's nothing. It's just ridiculous. So
I think if you're gonna see, if it ever gets to a point where it changes like the nature of a game, if a game's that bad where it needs to change in nature from another culture to a more Western culture, it probably would warrant like an AO rating on it, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, it probably would never make it, because those games aren't worth producing, because they don't
exactly
sell, because a lot of people won't carry them. Most people won't.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen one in the wild.
Right. A lot of people were crying foul about the Fire Emblem, how they kind of took out the minigame rubbing, touching game thing, and how that directly relates to increasing your support level between characters. And people are like, oh, well, clearly if they take this out, that's a whole support system. Like, that's a key part of the mechanics. But they actually have a way of doing that in the Western version. Like, you can still get that benefit of the support without having to do your touching minigame. Like, and that stuff actually is even still in there, I think, with, like, just if you choose the person who your main character is going to marry. So
I'm creeped out by the rubbing touching game in Pokemon.
Right.
Like, that's already creepy enough for me. I don't need to rub and touch human people on my Nintendo systems. It's weird.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm sure someone up high at Nintendo said, that might give us a negative headline in the West. Let's
absolutely.
Let's rethink this, And they've thought, let's not take the risk. Let's take it out. Let's change it in some way, and then make a better game for that market.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, I don't think we need to talk too much more about that subject.
We're all too much in agreement here. Let's disagree on something. Here we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go.
Donkey Kong Freeze is awful. Go.
top
rolling up my
top
sleeves.
2D platformer. Tropical Freeze. What a game. We're not having this debate. Okay, right.
No, I mean, if you want, like, I'll do it, but we don't have to.
Save it for the stinger, right?
Yeah.
Let's. Next question is from Alex W. Hey, MBZ and Bally and Fizz. With all these freemium games released by the Pokemon Company, do you think the franchise is going to take this route entirely? With the constant flow of these games being released and no sign of any new Pokemon games otherwise, what is your take on this? Do you think the main series games will end up being free to play? Thanks for the awesome podcast.
We should mention this was sent in before all these new Pokemon games got announced.
I sure hope so.
The whole of them.
Yeah. It's interesting. Fizz, how do you feel about, like, all these free downloadable Pokemon style things? I mean, you talked about, like, playing that Dragon Ball game, it's a free to download thing based on Dragon Ball. Have you fallen into the trap with, like, Pokemon Shuffle or any of these things?
No.
Okay.
Well, Pokemon Shuffle, it didn't seem that appealing to me because I already paid $8 for Pokemon Trozy or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, whoa. This is essentially the same game, it feels like, and now you're releasing a free one. I just felt burned by it, and I was like, I'm not even going to play it.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't know. Pokemon free games, I mean, obviously there's going to be a huge market there, and free games are a giant market for them to dip their toe in, but I think the market also is there where they're never probably going to go full free version. That doesn't make sense, I don't think. I'm not a head corporate at Game Freak or TPCI or anything, but it seems like there's always going to be a giant market for, mainline Pokemon games, or even, off series. Like Mystery Dungeon had a pretty big release too recently.
Yeah, no, I just think, like, there is maybe a dark future in which they start putting proper Pokemon games onto phones, and I think, like, it's possible to do that, like, with Pokemon being a turn-based thing and not having to really require, like, physical buttons necessarily if you want to play it, and then, going down that route with free-to-play, I think it's a road that could happen, but at the moment, it doesn't seem likely at all. It seems like, really, like, a lot of these initiatives are to try and push people towards Nintendo's hardware, and especially with Pokemon Go out there, like, just it's more like creating awareness for the franchise and the brand right this year, I think.
I think there are an awful lot of dark overtones going on with Pokemon at the moment, though, and that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Pokemon Bank like a monthly subscription thing?
No, it's a yearly thing.
And
it's only $5
for a year.
$5 for the year.
Yeah.
Okay, that is
pretty
quite
solid.
A good deal. But I was going to say that certainly with, like, the new Red, Blue, and Yellow on Virtual Console, they've, like, made a big deal about, Pokemon you get in those games can link to Pokemon Bank, and then Pokemon Bank can then link to the future Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we can talk about in a bit. But, like, they're trying to unify it a bit in some way, and I mean, imagine if Pokemon Bank did suddenly become like a monthly subscription or something, and I don't like the idea that it's that simple idea that, like, once you buy something, it's not finite. Like, there's always another cost, and Pokemon Go obviously, like, is going to have, like, in-game downloads and all that stuff because it's free to play. So I do think that Pokemon is going to try and go more free to play, but like you were saying, I pray that doesn't happen in any way, shape or form with the mainline series on, the handheld Nintendo console, whether that's NX in the future or 3DS now.
I think it'd be too hard to implement as like with the expectations that we have for a mainline Pokemon game. I think it'd be way too hard to implement a free-to-play mainline Pokemon game like on
end up being too like stripped down.
Yeah, it would be way too stripped down. Like, I think they'd lose a whole lot of audience because, like, yeah, the name brings a lot, but if you're not meeting those expectations that they've already set for themselves, like, they'll lose that audience.
I'd be really intrigued to see how much money like Nintendo have made from their free-to-play experiments, whether that's like Steel Diver Sub Wars or Pokemon Shuffle or whatever it's called, or Pokemon Picross and all those sort of things. Like I'm not sure if that model is working on 3DS.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pokemon Shuffle on 3DS had 1 million downloads, so like certainly people are
free downloads.
People are trying it out for sure. I don't know how successful that microtransaction like turnover is. Like, it's certainly,
and like Badge Arcade, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think that the 3DS probably will bring in as much as on a phone because it's partly Nintendo's clunky internal system regarding payment stuff. Like, in Badge Arcade, multiple times I've accidentally clicked A to like spend money, and it takes fucking ages to even load up the client.
3DS, you need a new 3DS.
Well, yeah, sure, but it's such a slow process to get from hey, I want to buy the microtransaction to actually going through with it, and like every step you go through that, you're always like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this. Whereas the way that Apple have it, like, so streamlined, it's like 1 or 2 clicks and you're done. So even if you have like second thoughts about it, too late. You've already bought it, right? Like,
yeah, you already put your thumb down on the scanner. It's game over.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think like they definitely have a bigger chance of striking at large in the mobile market. And Miitomo has just come out in Japan. It's supposed to come out very soon in the West, and already that's hit over 1 million downloads in 3 days. Top of the Japanese App Store, and I will be very interested to see just how much money that thing makes for them in the short term, and see what it kind of does for their profits.
It sounded like that game's been really well designed in the sense that, like, I was listening to Nintendo Voice Chat, and they were talking about how the first thing it asks you is like to link up with friends through Facebook and Twitter. So it's obviously like synced really well, and like people can get on it easily, and that's it's these little things, like you said, that you're right. It's such a break in the action, if you like, with Badge Arcade, that you're right. You can decide, actually, maybe I shouldn't buy all the Wind Waker badges, and I should rethink my life. Whereas with like Miitomo, it seems a lot more slick.
Yeah, absolutely. That's to do with that ecosystem and everything as much as anything else. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying Miitomo and seeing how it plays, and not really plays, but it's
how
weird.
It does its thing.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing to talk about, isn't it? God, it's crazy. But yeah, we'll get to that, I'm sure, on the next show, probably, because it's supposed to release before the end of March. So be sure to tune in for hot Miitomo scoops next time.
Buckle up, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Click it or ticket.
Yeah. Quickly, let's just have a talk about Sun and Moon, because we didn't really talk about it last time. Fizz, do you have any thoughts about Sun and Moon? I mean, they really haven't told us much at all.
They've
are you
teased.
Excited in any way?
Well, see, unlike you, I still have like a foot firmly in the Pokemon community.
Yes.
Where I am part of like the GBA, which is the only thing that interests me Pokemon wise right now. I guess aside from Pokken tournament, but
sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not. I think I'm past the point of being excited for Pokemon games. Like, I know. Okay, this is gonna be like $40 that I'm spending at least on this game whenever it comes out, like in November, I'm sure. I'm not expecting a whole lot. I'm just expecting like another X and Y-esque game with minimal storyline and new monsters to catch.
Yeah.
My expectations are very low.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to pitch your expectations, really,
Yeah.
when it comes to the series. Bali, I know that it's probably of interest to you because you've been thinking about playing X or Y.
Yeah,
and,
I'm next little while. I'm keen to play back through like Pokemon Red. I want to do that. That's like a little thing I'm keen to try.
Those old games are so good.
Yeah, I know, and like I do want to play X and Y, but with Sun and Moon, I might just wait and play that. Or I doubt I'll play all three. Do Red and then X or Y and then Sun or Moon. I think
that sounds like a bad idea to play X and Y and Sun and Moon.
That might burn me on Pokemon for life.
Yeah,
so, I think I'll do Red, and then I might wait it out and play a bit of Sun or Moon.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Nice.
And
those games are so far removed from each other that it's just like it's practically a different game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it means that there'll be some person to talk about that game on this podcast because I certainly aren't not getting it. So
you guys can have me back for Sun and Moon if you need another person to talk about it.
Yes. No. We will for sure. We will absolutely.
But yeah, it's a new Pokemon game. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yup. It's been the same thing. It's announced for 3DS, so there's really not anything to like get it worked up over.
I want it on NX and to do that thing I talked about, MBZ, where it's synced between 3D and 2D between the handheld and television screen portion, and they're completely synced one to one.
Well, maybe they'll have an app called like Pokemon Battle Revolution NX, right? No, right. Hear me out. I got a full-fledged idea now. I've started the sentence with nothing, and now I have an idea.
All right.
So it's Pokemon Battle Revolution NX. And what it is, it's an app. You download the app, and then you hook up the 3DS, or I'm gonna assume for argument's sake that the NX handheld portion plays 3DS games.
Okay.
On 2D like a 2DS would.
Sure.
Right. So and then you slam that thing into the top, or however it works, and then what it does is it projects the game, but in a different visual way, so it looks more console-y instead of like a handheld game. And then you can do battles that way. Like it wouldn't be the full game, but it'd be like you could do online battles that way.
Oh, okay.
Where they look cool. Yeah, that's my idea. Bam.
Well, I'm sure Nintendo listening. Yeah.
Got it. Come at me, TPCI. Game free.
Absolutely.
I'll sell it to you.
Are you pleased with the general direction where Pokemon's going, Fizz? Or is it just on that one straight road and it just keeps
where are they going? It doesn't. It doesn't seem. I don't. Maybe I'm jaded.
I think stuff like Pokken's quite nice and fresh, actually.
Well, yeah. Okay. So, like, as far as just like the Pokemon brand.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem to, like, we talked about this on the show before, but like all the different things they're doing for the 20th anniversary, like Pokemon Go, Detective Pikachu.
Oh god, I'm actually so in for Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I didn't even see the commercial for it, but I'm in.
Oh, you have to see the commercial. Like, it is. So
all I heard about was a petition for Danny DeVito to be Pikachu. I was like, hell yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
And of course, like the Virtual Console release of Red, Blue, Yellow, and
that was really cool to me. I didn't really feel compelled to get any of them because I've played them all like a million times. And it's just like, at this point, I was like, I feel like I'm entitled to have them for free.
Yeah, no, Nintendo will do more free stuff in the future one day.
But yeah, I will say that actually, they are doing kind of more with their brand and branching out in a lot of different ways where maybe this is a topic for the next segment, but how they've approached streaming. They've kind of latched onto it and kind of are dipping their toes in with that, but they are seemingly taking steps forward in strides and kind of figuring out how to get better and kind of grab a hold of a new fan base that they might not get to otherwise. They got the fighting game. They have another mainline game coming out, and I'm sure they're gonna have like a whole slew of like phone games and stuff. Like I don't know why Puzzle and Dragons Pokemon isn't already a thing,
I mean, it is.
Is that Shuffle?
No, it's the Mario one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But like, why not Pokemon? Like, people.
Yeah,
buy
exactly.
That.
Exactly.
So stuff like that. Like they're taking steps as a company. Like they've always kind of dragged their feet on things, I think.
Yeah.
As a whole, but I think they're finally starting to go like, all right, we're gonna need to change things up because eventually, like, people are gonna get bored of like the samey feeling of a new Pokemon game.
Ironically, the Pokemon company does not evolve.
Yeah.
Got him.
Boom. And with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I guess that's the emails we have for this week. We will do more of these next time, as long as you send them to us. Bally, where can they send the emails to?
Please send your emails to ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That's ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com.
Indeed. We look forward to hearing from more of you. For now, we are going to take another break, and we'll be back at you talking about the wonderful world of streaming. So don't go anywhere. We shall return. Alright everyone, welcome back to the show. We're here in our final segment, in which we're going to just discuss the whole notion of streaming video games on the internet, how it's changed things, how Nintendo could maybe do stuff with streaming, what we think of it personally. Do we enjoy doing it? Because two of the three of us here have streamed and do stream.
I've streamed with you.
Okay, right. So by proxy, I guess,
By
Bally. Yeah,
proxy.
by proxy. You have.
I didn't have to
streamed
set up all the kit. I just
had to
joined
jump
the
on
last
Skype.
minute and had a good
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, exactly. You just
That's
sit
the best way
comfortably.
to stream, honestly.
Yeah, really is. Like, because otherwise you have to worry about everything else. So yeah, Fizz, you've been streaming recently and
Yes.
doing a lot of Twitch stuff. How do you feel about the streaming model compared to the YouTube model right now, and where things stand as far as that goes? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse? What are your opinions?
I think it's different, but I'm maybe leaning towards better just because of the media and how people like to ingest it now.
Right.
People love being a part of something, and so when you get to go online, right, and you see your favorite streamer and you go in their chat, and then they see you and like say something, and then they answer your question, and that just feels really good. So I think streaming, YouTube could go by like the wayside if Twitch ever implements like sort of like a VOD service where videos just a better one than it has.
Right, it's kind of a disaster right now.
Yeah, it's like the highlights aren't cutting it, but if they ever implemented something where like you keep these videos and they have descriptions and a comment section up forever, like Twitch could be the new big company, I think.
Yeah, no, they're definitely on the rise, and they've done some smart stuff. Who was it that acquired Twitch? I can't remember now. They were acquired for a sum of money, and now I don't remember which company acquired them. It wasn't Amazon who acquired Twitch. I don't know.
I usually don't pay attention. Yes,
No.
acquired by Amazon.
Yes, yeah. So they definitely have some backing there now, which makes them, I guess, a bit more viable. I agree with you with that whole notion of the kind of instant gratification of Twitch as opposed to YouTube, with the whole like the direct interaction with people as opposed to I'm going to make a thing kind of alone away from everything and then put it out and then watch as people slowly kind of make their way through it and react to it, as opposed to like asking a question and getting an instant response. And it feels like the thing with Twitch is that people can foster audiences that are far more, I guess, entrenched and like closer to the content creator as opposed to YouTube, which maybe feels a bit more detached. I don't know. I think the one problem with Twitch for me is like it's hard to follow someone and know like what they're doing at all times. Like in recent times, it's been good because they've started using. You can get notifications pushed to your phone when someone has started streaming.
Right.
But before, like trying to like surface that stuff and find out when someone is doing what is kind of impossible. That's why a lot of people on YouTube who start streaming just put a YouTube video in their sub box, because like that is a central place on the YouTube platform where people go to see new stuff. And so if they see that there, then it can lead them to the streaming platform.
Right, and that's true for people who probably use YouTube as like their primary like content creation where they put their content. I think for a lot of, if you have been on Twitch and you have any sort of following on Twitch, a lot of people have like their sort of schedules that they are very stringent and stick to.
Right.
So like for that stuff, it's kind of just like, oh, like I'm gonna check and see who's on, or I already know like today's Wednesday at 12. I know my friend is streaming right now because this is the time he always streams every day.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, people kind of having their own schedules and stuff definitely helps, and it means that you can kind of follow people more closely and be in touch with them. Bali, how do you feel about like, from more of a viewer's perspective, streaming as a medium? Do you feel like it's something that could overtake YouTube in any way and become the more dominant form of which people go to watch video game coverage?
I think dominant is maybe a point that is very difficult to reach. And I think the thing about YouTube is, no matter what time of day, you might be out at work all day, then you come home, you've got maybe your hour or two in the evening to just relax, sit back and watch YouTube, and it's very difficult to maybe time that, especially with time zones across the world.
Right,
it's incredibly difficult to time streamers like into your life if you're working 9 till 5, for example. So I don't see it overtaking in that sense, but at the same time, some of the best moments of like watching content creators I've ever had on the internet have been like through streams, and Patrick versus Dan Reichert with the whole Mario Maker thing.
Right, yeah.
I would catch up on Patrick's videos, most notably on YouTube, but then for like the final, I managed to watch almost the whole thing live on Twitch, and it's like one of the best things I've ever seen on the internet. It's just so entertaining and gripping, mainly because it's live, and like that's Patrick Klepek sitting right there getting his live reaction to crumbling to Dan Reichert, which is just so satisfying to watch. Well, obviously I was supporting Patrick, not Dan, but it was still just such great, I wanted to say such great television, but obviously it's not television, it's the internet. Right. But it's such good entertainment, and it's got a special place, but I can't see it becoming bigger and better than, the juggernaut that YouTube has become.
No, it's interesting that you make the comparison to television, because really Twitch is much more the modern television than YouTube is. Like, YouTube is the pick and choose what you want when you want, whereas Twitch is like, this is going to be on at this time and you have to be there in order to catch it, right?
Yeah, and I don't see how that can change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just had, like, being a part of something live is just so, like, even if they're not, like, an interactive streamer, or they just can't because they're so large, it's like they have to pick and choose and can't talk to everybody. There's something about being a part of something live that is different than seeing something later. It feels like you're a part of, like, this community of, like, whether it be like a sports event or a TV show that just aired or something like that, you're already a part of like this niche group, and it feels like you're a part of something bigger, and that's just so appealing to be a part of, like, anything really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's part of the reason why I think sports are never gonna, or that's gonna be like one of the most dominant things that remains and keeps TV relevant because of the live nature of it. Because it's never going to become an on-demand service, because like it doesn't work in the same sense. Like, it has to be live because it's a timing-based thing.
Right. And because you can't be like, oh, holy shit, did you see like this dude like knock out this other guy in this MMA fight, and like the reaction you get when it's live and immediate is like, oh my god, yeah, wasn't that crazy? To like the next day, it's like, oh yeah, I saw that, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
you have like a very different conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's far more visceral. I think, totally. Maybe you want to dig into like perhaps some of like the dangers of, you know, a lot of young people streaming and, you know, getting paid to do certain brand deals and sponsorships, and the whole kind of transparency and the nature of that. This is a problem on YouTube as well, but I think maybe Twitch is maybe even greater than that, because there's no description box in which to say, hey, I'm being paid or sponsored for this, unless like you're putting it in the title of your stream. How do you feel about, you know, people getting like release day codes and starting to stream games, and you don't know whether they've been paid to say something positive about it, and that kind of thing, and like how that ties into like traditional games media? Do you think that's an issue that needs to be addressed and a problem for people? Because you know, obviously you can see the game being played and you can kind of maybe make a decision on your own whether it's good or not, but then you do have that influence of the influencers. They are now being called influencers. Yeah, how do you guys feel about that?
well, it's pretty interesting. Like, it's very new, and we're just kind of seeing it kind of develop as we go along. I know there's been other examples, but the one that sticks out to my mind is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
Yeah.
Where reviewers like did not have copies of this game. They didn't get sent out. However, there were Twitch streamers, a plentiful of them, who did have this game and were streaming it on before launch day. So in that game was so like just awful.
Yeah.
I don't know if like streamer, I guarantee it, because like I'm sure most streamers would probably play that for an hour and be like, this is garbage, let's switch games, I'll go back to what I normally do, here's League of Legends, here's Hearthstone. But they probably were paid to like play that game for like, I don't know, 8 hours or whatever, their whole stream session, and probably say, wow, you guys can go pick this up at your local retailer, and you should pre-order it and get this thing and that thing. And so it's interesting. There should be some sort of transparency there. It's kind of, there's not really a place for it on Twitch. I'm actually pulling up a Twitch page right now just to kind of get like a view, like kind of be able to be able to say what I'm thinking.
Right.
Like, all right, so there's the video, and then there's the chat on the right, and then like below is like where people have like their links to like social media and stuff, and you could put something there, but that's going to get so far lost in the other stuff that's down there. There's other promotions that people have going on, and like there are other like whatever, like click on this and buy it from Amazon from this link, or put in this code to get this headset. And oh yeah, here are all the specs that I use on my computer, and like I use this mouse, and like what to get like an honest opinion on something would be insane to try and look through like all this stuff that they have, like amongst like the chat rules and like top donators and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, like so many Twitch channels are just flooded with information and stuff anyway that it's hard to dig through all of that regardless. Yeah. I think the other big problem is the nature of streaming is that people drop in and out when they please. And it's not like a YouTube video where you can say definitively at the start and you know everyone hears it because everyone's starting from the same place. This is sponsored. This is a thing. If you're on a Twitch stream, you could just pop in for 5 minutes and have zero idea that this person is being paid to play this game and being paid to say positive things about it, right?
Right.
So it's even worse in that sense, I think.
And like you said, with the whole being at the start or being on Twitch, like if it's on Twitch, then they might feel the need to repeat it, like, you know, every half hour, every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Be like quite repetitive, especially for the people who have been there from the start, and maybe a bit sick of that slogan by now. But yeah,
it's a tough problem to navigate, and it's also the whole thing where, you know, traditional media outlets have this wall between editorial and advertising, and if you're just a kid on the internet, like, you're one person doing your one thing, you're trying to make some money where you can, you know, like, you don't have that same, you know, division between all that stuff. And obviously a lot of these people are just Let's Players, they're not critics in any sense, so I'm not sure it's super egregious, but then a lot of people who are just tuning in are also just kids watching, and they wouldn't have any kind of idea that any of this stuff is going on. And they can be influenced by people that they look up to and respect, right? So
I think it could be an easy problem to fix. Well, maybe not easy. Like, there should be something built into like the dashboard or something. Like, if you're playing a game for, you know, that kind of express purpose of like, I'm promoting this game because I was paid for it, there should be like a badge or something that they can just like a watermarked badge that they can put in like the upper right hand corner and just be like, this streamer has been paid by a company to talk about this game. Something. It doesn't even have to be like that explicit. It could just be like an image that like kind of embodies that.
Yeah.
And that could be a good solution to that sort of thing. But yeah, it is a big problem because like the people who put out content, I think sometimes miss how influential they are on an audience.
Right, yeah.
And oftentimes your audience is probably made up of young people. Young people by nature are influential, especially by people that they look up to, who they think are funny or cool, or doing this thing that they want to grow up and one day do. I don't think that's really grasped amongst content creators, like how much that happens and how just how much that exists inside someone.
Right. No, it's something that I'm sure is going to get addressed as things go on. But like, as we know, the internet is just like full of all this stuff that is just not legislated at all. Like all these copyright problems on YouTube and everything to do with like music tracks and people coming in and flagging, and like it's just a whole mess. And like, there's no laws for any of this stuff right now. And yeah, I feel like the system needs to move on with, you know, the way things are happening, and it's just not, because that stuff takes time, clearly, and you know, it'll eventually happen, I guess. But yeah, maybe let's talk a bit about Nintendo and streaming, because I think one of the interesting things about how Sony and Microsoft started off this generation is both boxes kind of have the ability to, or does the Xbox have the ability to directly stream from the system to the internet? Yeah. So like both of these boxes, you can, without any equipment needed, without any like kind of complicated stuff, you can just go out there and do streaming and become a streamer. You know, zero barrier to entry. Nintendo, the only one who are out of that race.
If you have an Xbox One and you happen to have a Kinect as well, then you already have a face cam and a microphone too. So
right, exactly.
So like, you're just already like in the game. You've bought your system, and now you can just be that person that you wanted to be.
Exactly. And the quality's not terrible either. Like, it's pretty decent from what I've seen. It started off quite bad, but I think they've definitely improved that as they've gone along. Nintendo currently the only console manufacturer who are not in the business of streaming games. And I think, like, as has happened many times, Reggie making comments, stupid fucking comments that eventually will come back to bite him in the ass about how, we don't think streaming is fun to watch, and like ridiculous statements like this.
But Nintendo themselves stream.
Exactly.
When they, like, you know, E3 or whatever with the Treehouse. And they don't not only stream and do it well, but they shout a lot about it. They're like, make sure to check out the Treehouse. Are you at the Treehouse? Here we are at the Treehouse. Got to check out the Treehouse. Did you remember to check out the Treehouse? And it just keeps going and going throughout the whole of E3. And
well, even more recently, they did the World Championships and they streamed that on Twitch.
Exactly. And like, these are great streaming events, and I think that they've been done pretty well. I mean, there are certain characters in Nintendo that just grind me the wrong way, but we won't go into that.
Right.
But I just think streaming has just become such a big part of especially E3, and Nintendo now not being at E3 in terms of a live press conference have to utilize streaming more. And you're right, Viz, like, you know, the World Championship and the Smash Brothers tournament were really, really great events, and they were so entertaining to watch, and everyone was watching a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Nintendo's really starting to open up their views on this stuff. As I mentioned before in the last segment, if you may remember, it's not necessarily Nintendo, but TPCI has been kind of expanding their streamings Like they'll do the video game championship regionals, and they stream nationals and worlds. If you don't know, you can play the video game competitively in like a Nintendo space, or I guess a Pokemon space,
right?
And the trading card game as well. Like, and they have commentators and these people who can provide analysis and insight and more entertainment value. And Pokemon is probably more slow moving than Nintendo in a lot of ways, but they're starting to take steps into streaming and seeing what they can do. This is something Magic has been doing for a long time, to draw comparisons to the trading card games, but now they're starting finally to kind of take this more seriously. Well, their streams are very bare bones and not super professional as they could be, because TPCI likes to cut costs in a lot of ways. But they've started doing it, and I predict they're going to keep doing it and probably keep getting better and hire probably more professional people to provide insight and commentary. And it's all very interesting watching these two companies kind of dip their toe in the water of streaming. And I think Nintendo also is kind of the more interesting one to watch, because they have a lot of very stream-friendly games. Like Mario Maker is insanely stream-friendly. Drawing from... I watched the Giant Bomb make a game with the chat. With a
that is great.
Which was really cool to watch. And not only that, like, if someone's playing Mario Maker, I think you brought this up probably 20 episodes ago, but like going into a streamer who doesn't have like a lot of viewers and asking them to test out your level, like, yeah, of course they're going to do that. And so they have Mario Maker, they have Splatoon, which is like their kind of default shooting game, which is like not really a shooter, but you know, and then also Smash Brothers, which is huge and will remain to be huge as like kind of their token fighting game.
Yeah, absolutely. All this stuff is very kind of intrinsically tied into the esports scene, as it were, and how they're definitely moving much more and more towards like helping that stuff happen and sponsoring tournaments and getting into it. And like, yeah, that is really kind of the backbone of where they're going with streaming stuff, is definitely the esports thing.
Yeah, I think it will be insane if NX doesn't have any sort of streaming capabilities. Like,
absolutely. It would make perfect sense from that angle for games like Smash Brothers to be able to do that, right? Like it would. But that's the question. Like, do you think that that's a thing that they're thinking about? Because I think a lot of people feel like a lot of these decisions get made in Japan by old men who don't really understand the internet still, and who, you know, have caused some really ill will towards Nintendo, especially in the YouTube scene, where so much copyright problems happen because you have to sign up for their own, you know, internal program.
Right.
I feel like if Nintendo were to put some kind of streaming platform through NX, it would be something where they're like, okay, you can stream from your NX, but all the revenue is going to us because this is our platform. And that sounds like the worst move in the world, but I can totally see Nintendo doing that.
I just want to see Nintendo stop taking steps backwards.
Yeah.
On everything.
Right.
I feel like every decision that Nintendo have ever made that is almost Western focused, or, you know, done something that the other companies have done, is like right at the last minute, and like they are the last to do it by a long way, and they've had to do it because the market has just sort of forced them into it. And I really don't feel like them implementing a streaming service into the NX is at that same stage. Like, I think we're still at the stage where, you know, the old Japanese guys are going to do the old Japanese guy thing, and they're not being forced to, you know, get the NX to stream at this point in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I think it would be really cool.
That sounds insane. But, like, also probably could happen. Streaming is just becoming such a huge thing that I don't know if they can ignore it. Like, I'd be curious to see how big streaming is in Japan. Because
I mean, they have Nico, which is their YouTube like equivalent, but I don't know about streaming at all.
Right. I know there's things like in other Asian cultures, like especially like South Korea is huge into like StarCraft, and those streams like are insane and stuff like that. So I don't know what it's like for Japan though. And I wonder if it's getting to that point where it's like, all right, maybe we should pay attention to this thing, because in America it's like at critical mass. Like, you have to have some sort of streaming capabilities here. It's just so many people are doing it now. It's so easy to do at this point. You don't need a whole lot to just become a streamer at this point. Like you mentioned before, like PS4 and Xbox, you can just flip a button and now you're streaming on Twitch.
Yeah.
You don't, like before, like you would need like, all right, and now I need to buy a capture card. I need to make sure my computer mic works, at the very least, the one that's built in. And then I have to have a webcam if my computer doesn't have one built in, and I have to have all these external things. But
and ideally, like a second monitor, because the screen gets so cluttered with multiple windows of OBS, plus like follow like alerts and like the game itself. Like if you want to play the whole game in full screen, then you know you're gonna have a separate thing to micromanage all of this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just even talking bare bones here. Like just bare bones to get your foot into streaming is like it's so much, and not just monetarily. Not to mention you have to do all the research to find out if this stuff will work for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and now it's so easy and people can just get into it and people want to do it. You just kind of need to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, even if it's just something that you just want to share with your friend, like it seems like a smart thing to have.
Right. Like I have a friend on Facebook who he doesn't do streaming at all. Like he's very into video games, but he doesn't live that life. But he uses his PS4 like recording thing to just share on Facebook and be like, "Oh man, check out this crazy thing I did in this game."
The clip stuff, yeah. No, that stuff is smart.
At the very least, it should have that stuff. It should have clips.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Nintendo. Let's not.
I think Nintendo would just they defend themselves by saying we're just scared about the whole kids online safety thing, wouldn't they? I mean,
yeah,
it's such an easy get for them.
You know what though? I need protection from the kids on the internet more than they need protection from me. Those bastards are mean as fuck. They hurt my feelings on a constant basis. Every 10-year-old I meet online, it's like, "Hey, I fucked your mom." I'm like, bro, it's fucking so uncool of you to say that.
Oh god,
Yeah.
I would never say that to you. I would just say like, "Haha, look, I killed you." But now you're bringing my mom into it.
They could definitely implement some very strict Miiverse rules into the chat, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like ban words like Sony and things. Like, suck phony.
Yeah, like in Hey You Pikachu, how if you said Sony rules or something to him, he'd just get really angry and like start shaking the controller.
That's
oh
awesome.
boy, yeah. All right, well, I don't know if there's much more for us to say about streaming, but yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, going to wrap up the show, our discussion, all that stuff. I guess it's time to just tell you where to find us on the internet. Fizz, let's tell people where to go to find you, because you have links and things and places.
I have like at least 3 of them.
All right.
Okay, first link where you can find me. At YouTube, I'm just strictly YoFizz. And on Twitter and Twitch, I am YoFizzYT. And that's where you can find me. I tweet often. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of wrestling, so a lot of my tweets are wrestling-centric. But yeah, I'm entertaining and I'm a fun guy. If you follow me and say, "Hey man, I heard you on the podcast, that was cool," I'll be like, "Thanks.
Yeah.
You're cool for listening."
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, yeah. People go follow him over there on the YoFizzes.
Yes,
all that stuff.
Do it. I stream sometimes and upload YouTube videos. It's great.
Yeah, where can people find that Dungeons and Dragons podcast as well?
Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you. If you go on to iTunes and you search Dungeons and Dragons and Chill, you would find my podcast. There's also a video version on my YouTube, which is YoFizz. But I do it every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
There you go, having a streaming schedule.
Yes, it's the only thing in my life that is scheduled aside from work. So, yeah, you come in on Saturday mornings, you're getting Dungeons & Dragons and Chill. It's me and 4 friends. If you follow the Pokemon community at all in the GBA, you'll know 2 of them right off the bat. Tup is one of the members, and so is Lars. He goes by L. Sizer. And then 2 guys from one of my favorite YouTube channels that is pretty much defunct, but they're working on a new video called Stupor Video Bros. They're very funny.
Excellent. Good stuff. Bally, where can people find you on the internet?
As always, I'm on Twitter at Ballyman91, BALLYMAN91. That is also my name on the Miiverse. Like we said earlier, I'm going to be diving back into some more Xenoblade Chronicles X. So if you want some glorious, glorious screenshots, go follow me on there. And of course on Twitter, like I said.
Indeed. You find me, Twitter is Lordnbz. It's the same for the Miiverse as well. You can find this show in different places, like on the iTunes where you can download us. We're on Stitcher, we're on YouTube. The internet has our show. Type This Nintendo Life and probably find us. We're on Twitter, Bally. Yeah, how about we do that? Tell people where the actual podcast Twitter is.
Follow the show on Twitter. It's at TNL Podcast. That's at TNL Podcast.
And our email, of course, as well.
The email, ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That's ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com.
I like how you say everything twice, Bally. It really gives an emphasis. Make sure.
You know, when people go away from their podcast listening devices and they think, now what was that email address Bally was saying? They'll think to themselves, ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com, because I said it twice.
Exactly. It's got a rhythm to it that you remember.
The rhythm sticks in their heads. That's the secret.
Yeah, it's like those commercials where they go like, oh yeah, buy the slap chop, and then they tell the number like twice in a row.
Exactly.
So you'll remember.
Exactly.
You want to remember that I need a slap chop in my life, much like you guys need this Nintendo Life in your life.
What is a slap chop?
It's a kitchen thing. You put stuff in it like fruits, or no, not fruit, like vegetables or onions, bell peppers, and you slap the top of it, and then it chops it.
Wow.
America, guys.
You're in America.
Someone played the national anthem right now. I feel very American.
Absolutely. On that note, on that bombshell, let's close everything out. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Some more podcasting, some more Nintendo, some more chat about video games. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye. The musical interludes used on today's show were Spring from Stardew Valley, copyright Concerned Ape 2016, and Gourmet Race from Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, copyright HAL 2000.
On YouTube, where people just yell at each other and curse at each other and just
European
call each other
Parliament.
names. This seems awesome. I want that to be my government.
Yeah, the European Parliament gets heated. Yeah.
Oh yeah? Well, you're just a tosser and I fucked your wife. That's how I picture all of it.
That's how we get stuff done.
Yeah.